Getting a virtual assistant or voice agent to talk to your leads and customers is great until you ask yourself, what if the caller needs to speak to a human person? And in some situations, they might just not be suited for voice agents to handle. And in situations like these, we just do something called escalating the call or human handover. So what I will show you today is how you can know when the agent should be escalating, how you can get the agent to do so, and then the very simple setup in Vapi so that it's actually functional. And after watching this, your voice agents won't hit a wall anymore when a user requests to talk to a real person, and they know when to escalate at the exact right time. So let's go. So before going into how we actually escalate the call, we first need to figure out when to do so. And the way I usually approach this is with a simple framework called HELP. Let's go through it step by step. The H stands for explicit human consent. This is obvious yet often ignored, because if the caller says they want to speak to a human, then obviously the agent should escalate immediately. This matters because of trust, user experience, and in some regions, even compliance. If you don't do this, this is the fastest way to destroy trust and trap someone in an AI conversation that they're trying to leave. So if someone requests a human, escalate the call. Next up, we have E. E stands for emotional change. When the agent realizes that the user is really frustrated, or the user is getting angry, or the user is confused, they are stressed around money, urgency, something in that direction, the agent should escalate. Voice agents are great in like transactional interactions and experiences for conversations, but humans still excel at empathy, reassurance, and judgment calls. So if the user is very distressed, escalate the call. Next up, we have L. L stands for legal boundaries. If the agent is about to enter regulated territory where it legally must not speak, escalate the call. Examples for this could be financial advice, legal advice, pricing, or more specifically guarantees around pricing. And to figure out if this applies to you, ask yourself, would a human need a license, certification, or compliance training to answer? If yes, escalate. And also, if there is some sort of legal risk, like for example around guarantees, then escalate too. And next up we have P, which stands for permission or capability limit. The agent should never just wing it. So if the user wants to make the agent do something outside the agent's scope, it shouldn't start hallucinating or similar. If the agent would step over a boundary, get them to escalate. This keeps the system safe, predictable, and boring, but boring in a good way. Now, quickly before we jump into the build, if you're a service business and you're wondering why leads are coming in, but they fail to convert to meetings, I got the exact reason, and it's speed to lead. The slower you respond to your leads, the less will convert. So I created a lead check. It's a 1-minute questionnaire without sign-up required that will tell you exactly where leads are being lost in your funnel. It's the first link in the description. Again, 100% free and no sign up required. And now back to building. Now, if you went through the help framework and you figured out exactly when the agent should escalate, we need to do two things. Number one, we need to tell the agent exactly when to escalate the call. And number two, we need to build the tool within Vapi with the forwarding to a specific phone number so that the agent then can actually escalate the call. And I'm just gonna start with the first one, with the prompting. This is just a demo agent from Vapi with the Create Assistant, and I just chose the customer support specialist. For this use case, it doesn't matter too much. Obviously, you will use the agent that you want the ability to escalate the call to have. So the way you do it is you obviously have your system prompt, and you can open this up and you will know your system prompt best. I obviously don't know your system prompt, but you will probably have specific sections in the system prompt. And from your help analysis on when the agent should escalate, you will have to figure out where those specific scenarios happen. So in my case here, this is like some technical support agent. And again, this is just the Vapi system prompt from their template here. And if I open this up, there's a section here which is for frustrated customers here, for frustrated customers. And this, for example, would be an excellent section to put the escalation in. So what you will do is you will just add something to the section that goes like this. If the problem can't be resolved, ask if the call should be escalated to a human consultant. If the user accepts that offer of call escalation, use the escalate call tool. So we do two things here, and that are very important. First, we directly identify when the assistant should ask if they should escalate. So if the problem can't be resolved, obviously you can make this more specific, but just tell the agent when they should escalate. And then if the user accepts, so if the agent then should actually escalate, tell the agent how they can escalate. And they can escalate by using the escalate call tool. Now, we haven't created this tool yet, but just I'm gonna put another example in the system prompt just to drill this home. And again, this is like specific to your system prompt. I can't give you the exact template here, but just tell the agent when they should escalate, the exact scenario in which they should escalate, and then how they're gonna do this. So again, if the problem can't be resolved, and then use XYZ. So I decided to just put another little section at the beginning of the conversation flow section. So I just call it human escalation. If the user requests to speak to a human, escalate the call via the escalate call tool. So again, we have the specific scenario in which we would escalate the call, and then how the agent's going to do this. And again, you can make this way more specific. But in this case, I don't think I have to do it more specific. Right now, what's still missing is how we can create the tool. And I will just copy this tool call name because this needs to be the exact same. And then it's just update the assistant and hit publish here. And then let's go ahead and create the tool. In order to do so, we have to go to tools and we will create a new tool. And here you have basically two options. One is the handoff tool, and then one is the transfer call tool. Don't be mistaken here. The handoff tool is not to escalate to a human, but to escalate to another voice agent. So that's not what we're going to use. We will use the transfer call tool here, and we create a new one. We will give it a name, and the name will be the exact same that we use in the system prompt. And this is important because otherwise the agent won't know which tool to call. So give it the same name. Obviously you can name it something different here and then later change it back in the system prompt. And then we're going to write a short description. This is just a very short sentence. Use this tool if the user wants to escalate the call to a human. This is so that the agent knows basically if this is actually the right tool, even though the name matches, just as a bit of more context. And now this is the important part, the destination. The destination is basically the phone number or SIP trunk where we will connect the user to, so to which person we will escalate. Obviously for that, you will probably put your own phone number or the phone number which you want to escalate to in. But we have two options here. The first one is SIP trunk. I'm guessing that most of you guys won't use this. This is, for example, if you have a larger corporation, what you're building this for, which have like these phones on their desk, and these are usually connected via SIP. And you know, you would put your SIP URI in here, but I won't go over the rest because the rest is the same for the phone number, and we will use the phone number in this case. So we just delete this and we will choose phone number. Now, in the first field, you would put the phone number to which you will escalate the call. So let's just put a random phone number in here. I will change this later to be my phone number. You can put an extension in here if you, again, have a larger phone system within the company and you have a specific extension to which you want to escalate the call. Then you put the base phone number basically in here and then the extension in there. I don't have this, so I will just leave this blank. The same is true for the caller ID. Now, the message to the customer might be a bit more important. If you escalate the call and the agent actually uses the tool, then we want to just make the user aware of that the call is being escalated, and that's what we put into the message to customer field. I just put in here, I will now transfer you to a staff member. 1 second, please. Obviously, this is again very specific to your use case, so just think about something you can put in here. Now, the description here is important if you have multiple destinations. In this use case, we only have one destination. That's why the agent don't necessarily has the ability to choose because we only have one destination. But if you have the ability to connect to multiple people, then you will have to tell the agent when to choose which person to connect to. I just now wrote in there that all calls should go to this specific destination. Obviously, if you have a conditional routing, then be as specific as possible when to use which destination. Now, the transfer plan is arguably one of the more important settings here. If we click into this, we have several options. And now if you think about it, if you escalate a call and you're in the shoes of the maybe frustrated person, what you want to avoid is that you are being connected to a human and then you have to explain everything all over again. And that's why we have a few different options here. So we can do a warm transfer with a summary, which means that the call is being transferred, but before you basically reach the escalation point, an AI generated summary of the whole conversation is being, told to the operator. So the operator knows what the conversation was about and then can continue the conversation as a human would. Now, the same is true for the warm transfer, wait for operator, then say summary. And then for the message thing, you can basically input a message, a predefined message, which is probably valid in some cases. But what I would personally always pick is either warm transfer with summary or warm transfer, wait for operator, then say summary. For the warm transfer with summary, we have a few more settings, which is obviously enable summary generation. We want that because otherwise the summary won't be generated. And then we can input a system prompt for the generation of the summary. So let's just write something up here. So you could write something like this as the summary message system prompt. You're a conversation summary specialist. You're operating between a conversation of an AI and a user in which the user needs to speak to a human consultant. Your job is to summarize the whole conversation. The summary will be read to the overtaking operator so they know exactly what the conversation was about and how they can help. And this just basically tells the LLM why and how they should summarize the conversation. Obviously, again, you can get more specific here if there's some details you want to focus on. So for example, if the user had a problem that the AI couldn't fix, maybe specify this in here even more. And then we have the user message template, which just basically is here's the conversation to summarize, and then you have this variable that the conversation the conversation transcript is actually pasted to the LLM too. Then we have timeout seconds, not too important. And then we have this checkbox right here, which is use assistant LLM for summary generation. We can either use, again, the same LLM that the assistant uses, or we can, if we don't check this, enter a custom LLM URL. In normal instances, we would just use the same LLM that the assistant is using. And now what we can do is we can add more messages here. These are messages that are being read to the user. Now, I think the only one that is actually relevant is the request failed, because if the request is successful, then obviously the call will be transferred and the user will obviously notice that. But if nothing happens, then the user is wondering, what's going on? And we should have something covering that use case. Now, obviously, we have a request start too. We can specify something in here, but I will just leave this as default. But for the request failed, you can type just a simple sentence like, unfortunately, the call transfer failed. Obviously, again, this is something you would have to know for your specific use case. You could then enable to end the call after the message is spoken. Not sure if that's the way to go, but now if you put all your settings in place, then you will just hit save. And then we will go back to assistants, go back to your assistant, and then go to the tools section, tools right here. And then we will have to select the escalate call tool. And now the tool is mapped to the assistant. We can hit publish, we can hit next, publish. And now what I can do is I can show you how the escalation works. Luckily, we can just trigger a call from the Vapi API documentation. So let's just send the request and create the call. Here I get the call.
Hi there, this is Alex from Tech Solutions Customer Support. How can I help you today?
Hi Alex, how can you actually help me? Can you maybe walk me through what your job is?
Of course. My main job is to help you with anything related to Tech Solutions products or services. This includes troubleshooting issues, answering questions about features, assisting with your account or billing, and even offering guidance on how to use our products. Essentially, I'm here to make sure things are running smoothly for you. If we run into something that's beyond my ability to fix, I can escalate the issue to one of our human specialists for deeper support. So how can I assist you today?
Can you maybe actually escalate the call, please?
I will now transfer you to a staff member. 1 second, please.
And now, funny enough, I get a second call on my phone because obviously I only have one phone number here. But let's just take the call too. The call.
Conversation summary. The user connected with Alex from Tech Solutions customer support and asked about the AI's capabilities. After the AI explained its role in helping with Tech Solutions products, troubleshooting, account/billing issues, and feature questions, the user immediately requested to be escalated to a human staff member. No specific technical issue or reason for escalation was provided by the user.
And now, obviously, normally, I would actually just take the call, but I can't talk to myself over my own phone. But yeah, like that's exactly how it works. You connect the tool to the assistant, and then when somebody requests the escalation, the other person will be rung, as you saw on my phone. Then the summary of the conversation will be read, and then the conversation will be transferred, or the operator can accept the transfer of the call. And this is really cool and actually extremely useful and also extremely important for trust. And that's it with the video about what if the caller wants to speak to a real person. If you liked this video and found it helpful, definitely leave a like and subscribe to this channel to not miss any future videos. And again, if you're a service business getting leads but no appointments or few appointments, then definitely check out the first link in the description down below, which will lead you to the lead leak check, which is a no sign up required 1 minute check that will reveal exactly how leads are falling through the cracks in your funnel and how you can solve it too. Again, completely free, no sign up, no risk. And with that, keep building, keep iterating, and until next time, cheers.